And we are live. We are live on YouTube and we are recording. Welcome back to the BIRTHFIT Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lindsey Matthews Cantu, and I am so stoked to be back broadcasting, hosting for the BIRTHFIT Podcast. And no time like the present, y'all. This is about 3 months or less before I go out on maternity leave. So we're going to try to get some episodes in, get some juicy content in so that I can leave you with something before I go. So, anyways, let's check in. It's been almost 9 months since I have recorded a podcast. And if you haven't listened to any of the BIRTHFIT podcast episodes from last season, I would strongly encourage you to do so. We wrapped the season last year with Dr. Tony Ebel of the Pediatric Experience. And he is just crushing it in the chiropractic world and specifically pediatrics and chiropractic and making it more relatable, more accessible, more digestible for moms to basically find a chiropractor, go to pxdocs.com and find support, find care in their local area. Also on their website, you can find tons of blogs, tons of content, um, for really anything. If your kiddo's dealing with colic, sensory issues, gut issues, kind of anything that kids go through. So definitely give that episode a listen. The one right before that was with Bethany Hamilton. Not Bethany Hamilton. She's an amazing surfer. Bethany McDaniel of Primally Pure. Those are like the only two Bethany's I know, and they're both amazing. I think I just saw that Bethany Hamilton gave birth to, it might be her third or fourth kid. So congratulations if you're listening. But Bethany McDaniel, wow, y'all, it's been a minute. Let's get my words right. She is the founder and CEO of Primally Pure. And this is one of the only skin products that we recommend here at BIRTHFIT. If you go to our shop, you will see a link there from which you can click on and go to their website. Anytime you support our affiliate links, you're supporting us, you're supporting those companies. And Bethany's amazing. Their skincare line is just phenomenal, and it's what I've used prior to pregnancy. It's really the only thing I've used during pregnancy, and I just love like their baby balm and their body butter. I put that all over my body. Actually, I love everything. I use their everyday spray, their toner, their face wash. I use that oil and then the cleansing bar. I also love their blue tansy oil and their plumping serum. Really anything from Primally Pure, you can't go wrong. And if you use the code BIRTHFIT, you should get a nice little discount. So be sure to go to the shop, use that link, listen to that episode, and use the code BIRTHFIT. Anyways, I'm not going to get into too much more, but yeah, let's dive into what the heck is going on in BIRTHFIT land. I'm pregnant, y'all. So if you did not know or you don't follow me on Instagram, I think I announced my pregnancy in April or May, and I'm somewhere around 30 to 31 weeks pregnant right now. And I really, really am enjoying this chapter, this season. It's been beautiful. It's definitely come with so much love, some messiness, but I would say having this life, creating this life inside my body has just been it's been a wild experience. And, I, I was telling my husband, trying to describe what it's like, and I was telling him, it's kind of like a really, really drawn out mushroom trip. And I've had some good mushroom trips, so that's kind of what I relate it to. So I'm going to share a little bit about that. But before we dig into my pregnancy, I want to share with you that we have updated a lot on the nonprofit website. And our BirthFit podcast has moved over specifically to be under the nonprofit umbrella. So, what I mean by this is if you go to, let's see, the website, BirthFit for Everyone, BirthFit for Everyone. Oh, that didn't work. Why did that work? Oh, go to nonprofit.birthfit.com. This is our BirthFit for Everyone website. So we have refined basically who we are, our vision, our mission statement, and who we serve. Over the last couple of years, we started the nonprofit, I think it was 2019, and specifically wanted to support postpartum doulas. However, over the last 3 to 4 years, and I would say, as I've observed and witnessed over the last, excuse me, decade of being in birth work, I've had a soft spot for military and active duty military and those with husbands in the active duty military. We have seen and we've heard firsthand how overwhelming and isolating and having a baby while being active duty or having that husband as in active duty. Sometimes husbands may even be deployed. You might even be living separate from each other by the time the birth comes around. So our vision is for these women that are active military or married to active duty military to feel supported and have a sense of community as they journey through pregnancy, birth, and the immediate postpartum. Our mission is to provide emotional, physical, and informational support in the form of a local birth or postpartum doula to optimize the well-being of the military mother transitioning through the pregnancy, birth, and postpartum, perhaps or more than likely without her husband or partner there. Our nonprofit is called BirthFit for Everyone, and we are a 501c3. So if you have any questions about donating, ask us, but go to the website, nonprofit.birthfit.com. When you land on the website, you'll find more information. You can also donate directly on that website. Any little bit helps, $5, $10, $25, whatever. There's a donate button there. If you are listening, if you are somebody, if you are a professional, a good human, if you own a company, whatever, if you want to sponsor an entire BirthFit podcast episode, that would be around $250 donation. We would announce your company, your name if you didn't want to be anonymous. Some people like to remain anonymous with donations, but you could sponsor a whole episode for a minimum of $250 donation. We are specifically working in Texas first, and those of you that are active duty or that has a husband, partner active duty, please go to the website. By the time you go to the website, there should be a questionnaire, a survey that you can fill out to request support, to request assistance. We will need you to fill that out. We have to filter through things. And, at this point, we're just starting out. So unfortunately, we cannot meet the request of, all the families we'd like to serve soon. So we basically have the survey as an application process. We will reach out with further questions, perhaps do a little interview, a phone call, and go from there. The average cost of doula work, birth doula work right now in Texas is around $1,500, just so you know, and is definitely going up from there. So that's the price range we're working with. And then on the postpartum side of things, what was I knew this number. We are working with 30 times 3 equals times 3. Postpartum doula work, somebody that works for about an average of $30 an hour, maybe for 3 hours at a time, 3 days a week at the most, for about 3 to 4 weeks. And that comes out to around $1,000. So they're pretty close to each other. And yeah, that's our baseline. So we would love for you to donate, to support us, to support the nonprofit. Really, it's not really even us. And you can donate directly on the website, nonprofit.birthfit.com. Also, last thing I'll say, if you would like to buy some BirthFit apparel, 10% of any of the BirthFit apparel each month goes back to the nonprofit. So you would go to birthfit.com, you would go to the shop, and you can get a nice Dad Squad shirt. You can get a BirthFit tank, a BirthFit sweatshirt, BirthFit beanie, BirthFit hat, t-shirt, joggers, whatever. Any kind of apparel. If there's something like an idea for an apparel that is not on there that you would love, let us know. Because if you want it, I guarantee somebody else wants it. Okay, so that's updates with the nonprofit. And yeah, I would love, if you're military in Texas, if you have any input, let us know, please. You can fill out the contact form on the website and or email us at info@birthfit.com. Either way, we'll get it. Whew, so lots of updates. Let me touch on a few more things. BirthFit Shop. As I mentioned, the BirthFit Shop, there's products we love. And I mentioned Primally Pure. The other products that are in there, we love just as much. And like I said, when you support these companies through this shop, you're using our affiliate link. I'm not trying to hide anything there, but you're supporting us and you're supporting these companies that we value so much. So within this shop, you'll find heart and soil supplements. We love these supplements, and they're basically the most nutrient rich supplements, organ meats or like desiccated organs. And they have a unique freeze drying process to ensure that all the precious foods and nutrients are preserved. I've been taking heart and soil supplements since way prior to conception, and I continue to take heart and soil supplements. I don't take a prenatal vitamin right now just because that doesn't work with my body. I really feel like organ meats are the true OG prenatal vitamin. So a liver supplement, an organ blend, like that's what I really value as a prenatal vitamin. When you click on that link and use that link in our shop, you get 10% off your first purchase. So hopefully that's motivating enough. They have lots of good stuff in there. There's so much in our shop, and I'll try to touch on these throughout, but I also wanted to touch on Queen of Thrones castor oil pack. I used castor oil prior to conception, and I used it actually during my first trimester, and I'll share with you kind of the ins and outs in a little bit. But castor oil, I think there's a book or something. It's called like God's Oil, but it's freaking phenomenal. Prior to, let's say like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was somebody that thought castor oil was just something you make in a little midwife recommended brew and you drink it to get labor going. Well, duh, because it's going to upset your stomach and cause you to have the shits. So I was wrong. Well, I didn't know the whole picture. I started using castor oil on my liver about 3 nights a week, and in the form of a liver pack that I bought through Queen of Thrones. And I would do it 3 nights a week when I wasn't bleeding, when I wasn't on my cycle. I would sleep like a baby, and I just noticed so much overall benefits. It really helped to regulate my cycle. Um, one of the things I noticed, and this is just me, but after being exposed to a lot of poked people, jabbed people at the end of 2020 and 2021, my period did shift. And one of the things I did to basically support my cycle and help with detox, yes, I sweated, sauna, did the other things, but liver pack. And then also anytime there was clumps or clots in my period blood, um, I would use the castor oil basically in the day 1, 2-ish, sometimes 3-ish, right on my uterus for like an hour. And it might cause more blood to flow, but the remainings of that cycle is, I just felt like it was like a nice flush. And then the next cycle and beyond was pretty healthy. The blood looked great. No more clots after that. So I really, really liked that. Again, go to the store, Queen of Thrones organic castor oil packs. You'll find them in the BIRTHFIT store. So many things in here. Like I said, I don't take a prenatal, but if there's one I recommend currently, it is Full Well Fertility, and you'll find that in our store. The other thing I want to point out is Bubs Naturals. The collagen they have is, I've been taking that for at least, maybe 3 years now. I love Bubs. I love them as a company. I love who they are, their mission. They definitely donate to a nonprofit, the Glenn Doherty Foundation. And so if you like what they're about, I would strongly suggest you supporting them. And the last company I want to point out is Equip Prime Protein. This is a protein powder that it's like complete source of grass-fed beef protein. And if you use the code B!community, all caps, you get $15 off. People are always asking what kind of protein powder I recommend. You've got to know the source. It's got to be a clean protein, and that's one of my favorite sources. Okay, so let's dive in. If you are joining us live and you have any questions, definitely put them in the chat box. If not, don't even worry. The recording is just as good. This is actually the first time that I've gone live, I think. Yeah. Okay. So my goal is to share with you my personal experience. All of this is my personal experience, and by no means is anything in this podcast medical advice. You have to do your own research. You have to consult with your own providers, healers, shamans, whoever you turn to. But, I try to share what has worked for me, what has worked for a ton of women within the BIRTHFIT community. That's why, we have some of the products we do, and go from there. I don't think there is any type of science because so much of it is paid and bought, and oh my God. But anyways, there's nothing like case studies and storytelling. And that's what gets passed down from generation to generation. And I do believe that is so valuable. So if my story, if my sharing can help you and give you some insight as to where to start on your healing journey or a preconception journey, or wherever along the way, I think that's a huge deal. So yeah, let's get back to it. I'm pregnant. And I am due sometime at the end of September, maybe early October. Who knows? I don't like due dates. They're an estimation. And I think that yeah, babies pick when they come. So let me back up and say, I do a lot of preconception consults, whether it be virtual or in the office. And one thing I would strongly encourage you to do if you have not done and you are on this preconception journey is to get really clear on what your values are, and specifically, within health and wellness, what your personal wellness philosophy is and what that looks like. For me, probably the last 10 to 15 years, maybe freaking 20 years, I've had some deep dives into my own personal health, and I've gotten way more clear each opportunity as to basically who I am and how, I don't say how I want to live, but what my personal wellness philosophy is. For those of you that don't know, I grew up very standard American. I grew up diagnosed with asthma by the age of 2. Um, I was born and fed soy formula immediately. I was placed in NICU because I was like 2 weeks early, 3 weeks early. And I never breastfed. Therefore, my gut never had the opportunity to develop. Um, Diagnosed with asthma by the age of 2. And what I've learned is that kids don't grow out of these things. We grow into other things, other issues. So fast forward, um, I had allergy issues, I had skin issues, I was labeled with ADD, different medications on top of different medications, pretty standard American. Um, I was put on birth control before I left high school with there's no informed consent there. I went to college and was not the healthiest. My diet was pretty standard American from, fast food in high schools, TV dinners, things like that, because of the convenience. Like, most of my life I grew up with a single mom. My stepdad entered the picture when I was in middle school. So that was cool. He's awesome. Um, but yeah, like I call it the standard American diet, the standard American lifestyle. When I got to college and it was towards the end of college, I did a study abroad trip, a medical mission trip to Africa, Tanzania, or as a Texan would say, Tanzania. Um, but that was probably my first exposure to eating food directly from the land. And I felt freaking good. I felt really good. Um, yeah. I just want that to kind of set in. Like that was like my first exposure, which is crazy. Um, I grew up, in the 80s and 90s, so convenience, vaccines, pharmaceuticals, all of it, fast food. It was, what was jamming at that time. Anyways, also in college, I decided to start to explore my nutrition. And one of the things I had heard was that removing commercial dairy helped with phlegm, inflammation, stuff like that. So I removed commercial dairy for the first time ever. And in 2 weeks, I felt phenomenal. I wasn't waking up with a runny nose, congestion. I didn't have to use an inhaler. I literally from that point forward, I stopped going to get allergy shots. I was like, okay, there's something to this. Anyways, I share all that with you because I've been through freaking the ringer. There's lots of stuff I left out, but I've tried the standard American lifestyle Western medicine approach, and it did not work for me. It did not align with my body, and I do firmly believe that all of my symptoms were my body's way of communicating, trying to communicate with me like, hey, lady, woman, girl, this isn't working. Can we go back to midline? Can you talk to God? Can you figure something else out? So it's been a learning experience my whole life. So, like I said, I say that to let you know that I've been through a lot of shiznit. Therefore, when my now husband and I had our very first date, we started asking questions because we started dating in our later 30s, and we just cut to the chase, and we talked about if I would change my last name, if I was open to marriage, change my last name, if he was open to a home birth, what basically our health and wellness philosophies were, because the reason I want a home birth is to stay out of the medical system. So that's, we had these conversations right up front. We also acknowledge that, yes, we are in our later 30s and we are open to kids. And both of us agreed at that time that we would be open to kids. And if it happened, we'll leave it up to God. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's as far as we would go. We would stay basically all natural with it. We both decided that the ART, the assisted reproductive technology world, was not for us. And, it didn't align with our values on that wellness philosophy that we developed, that we have. So I say this because you need to have a conversation with your husband, partner, whoever. If you're in that preconception chapter, if you have not had a conversation yet about how far down that journey you would go as far as like trying to conceive, for us, we would do everything lifestyle wise to support our bodies. I would do chiropractic and acupuncture. He even did some acupuncture. He did chiropractic, nutrition, sleep, modified lifestyles, things like that. However, that's as far as we would go. We would not inject anything, take any pharmaceuticals, that sort of deal. There's no, it's not right or wrong. It is what it is. And does it align with your values and your wellness philosophy? That's what I'll say there. So put that out there. And I apologize if anywhere along the way you get triggered, but that's part of the deal. If you get triggered, that's on you. And as one of my teachers, mentors says, that's an opportunity for you to go inward and investigate why that triggered or upset you. Anyways, okay, moving on. I got a list over here, so hopefully I don't go off on too many tangents. But have that conversation first with yourself and then with your husband or partner. Okay, so I will share, after we got together and we were open to kiddos, we immediately removed the goalie and we got pregnant basically that next cycle. This was in 2020 and we're like, oh my God, this works. Holy cow. However, we shortly miscarried after that. And I share this with you because miscarriage is part of the motherhood transition experience. And about 1 in 3 women will experience a miscarriage. And I say this because, yes, it was hard. It was sad. There was some grieving. And at the same time, I had a beautiful healing experience. I just went inward and just continuously every freaking day asked my body what it needed. And some days I just needed sunshine. I just needed to lay in the sun. So I'd encourage you, if you've gone through this or you're going through a miscarriage right now or a loss, listen to your body, listen to your intuition. I did the whole process very natural. I worked with my acupuncturist. Everything was done at home. And, I treated it as a postpartum experience. I did not work out um, for a month. I did, um, I basically chilled at home for about 2 weeks, then with gentle walks and sunshine here and there. And then I started incorporating the BirthFit basics for 2 weeks after that. And then I went back and eased back into some gym classes. Um, and, I am so grateful for that experience, that introduction into motherhood. And I think it's made me even more grateful for this pregnancy and this experience. It's wild. So yeah, for those of you that have experienced that, I feel you. I know that feeling. And I'm just sending you love and encouragement and grace. And I want you to be gentle with your body and know that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You did nothing wrong. So, moving on. From that point forward, I started to shift, and I would just ask myself, what do I need? Randomly, I had labs done, like it was either a day or two before or a day or two after the process started, and everything looked perfect. My labs during that 2020 year were, phenomenal, and I worked with a more of a functional medicine practitioner, and that means I have tighter ranges on things. So, sometimes we don't know the big picture that God has for us, and that's okay, and that's hard to settle into, and that's hard to surrender into. Believe me, I know. I'm a Capricorn. I love planning. um, but just knowing, and I think my friend Dr. Nathan Riley says this, settling into just this whole greater magic that's going on. If this pregnancy is healthy and if this is a viable pregnancy, there's really nothing that's going to stop it. And if it's not, then honor your body and what it's going through, and the just the intelligence of your body for releasing that pregnancy if it's not viable. And that's what I did. And I often thought this before getting pregnant, like there's a reason for the release or the lack of viability, and your body will speak to you. And I feel that even more so after going through that. So while my lab work, let's say, was normal and pretty dang good, I just felt like intuitively I needed more nourishment. I needed more depth to my nutrition. And I had started dabbling in, I call it, the Weston A. Price diet or the ancestral diet, or just how my grandma would eat and be really freaking proud. And I had started dabbling in things like raw milk, and I have always cooked with butter or olive oils or more natural things. Like once I kind of figured out that little side mess that we got going on in this country. But I stayed pretty clear of dairy, assuming that it led to inflammation. But I had started incorporating fermented dairy and goat's milk probably once or twice a week in 2020. I definitely started experimenting with goat's milk when I lived in California. So it was like 2016 to 2018. But moving forward after this experience, after this healing experience, I crushed dairy. I was like, okay, I need this in my life. And I started consuming real milk. I call it real milk. raw milk. Because it's real milk, y'all. It's real milk. It's not this pasteurized garbage or this watered down, depleted shiznit that you buy at the store. Real milk is a complete food source. It is protein, carb, and fat all in one with live enzymes. It's freaking brilliant. Nature is brilliant. Anyways, I started consuming a real milk shake almost daily, and I would put raw egg yolk in there, maybe some berries, whatever I felt like at that point. But there would for sure be real milk and an egg yolk in there, and maybe some organ powder, and I would do that almost daily. I know some of you are going to ask for literature for real milk. There's a book called The Untold Story of Milk, and gosh, where's the other book? The Raw Milk Revolution is a good one. And then, if you've never read Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Weston A. Price, I would definitely start there. Those are 3 books that I would strongly recommend. And what's wild is one of the first years of me starting BirthFit, I researched different ancestral diets and different cultures around the world and what they reserve for their healthy preconception, pregnancy, lactating moms. And it is all of this good stuff, these animal products, these raw milk, fermented milk products, fermented foods, organs, basically the most nutrient dense parts of the animal. And then, root vegetables that were in season, fruits, honey, things like that. So I had known this was in the back of my head. And while I put healthy in quotations, I felt like I was like surface level healthy. There was no depth to me being healthy. And that's what I just went with. I went with it. And y'all, I started feeling really freaking good. I felt so good. So when people ask about my nutrition prior to conception, that's it. I would say it was, 80% animal products in the form of milk, steaks, ribeyes, bacon, sausage, whatever, and fermented dairy. Definitely love some Greek yogurt. I would get some buttermilk, and I would cook with buttermilk. You can make buttermilk too. Cook with butter for sure, or lard. And then root vegetables, different fruits, things like that. And then I mentioned heart and soil supplements. I love them. I also love Rosita cod liver oil, which you can find on our shop. I definitely love, desiccated oysters. I definitely got more fish in my life, and we have access to a great local fisherman that goes down to the coast here. And so that's what works for me. We'll go get oysters at least once or twice a month. So I know the source, that's super important. And I've continued eating this way throughout my pregnancy. And, for those that are like, what about morning sickness? I really didn't have any. I would get nauseous somewhere between week 7 and 9 if I didn't eat. And during that time, I would make sure I had bacon on tap, and I would make these, it's like Jello, but gelatin cups. And I would make them with pineapple juice, coconut cream, obviously gelatin. And I would just have those bite size available, if I felt like I needed them during the middle of the night or immediately when I woke up in the morning. Those were my go-tos during the first trimester. So nutrition's been pretty nutrient dense. And I think that has been huge for me. The other thing I pay attention to a ton is my mineral intake and what like water, like element, water, electrolytes, those are the words I'm looking for. So right when I wake up in the morning, I down a glass of water that has some Quinton isotonics in it or some salt, some Redmond salt. Um, Throughout the day, I'll at least consume 1 or 2 packets of element. Um, I'll sprinkle some trace minerals in the mix. Um, Towards the end of the day, I'll do a few drops of iodine and boron. I'm trying to think what else there is. I use, it's an ion gut support. I think it is ion. Let me look that up. Yep. That's an awesome product. I shared a lot of specifics for my nutrition and supplements I take within our B community. And this is our monthly membership option. So if you're not part of that, get in there. Even just that lecture alone is worth the $25 a month. But, inside B community, we have training, we have virtual gatherings, there's lectures, like a whole bit of stuff that you can go back and look at the archives. So I get into it more specifically there, and that's kind of a perk for being in there. I share specifics. So yeah, very nutrient dense. There's no intermittent fasting. There's no cutting carbs. Like I love sourdough bread. That's been a game changer for me. One of my favorite snacks right now is sourdough bread with lots of butter and anchovies, or sourdough bread, peanut butter, and honey. And my friend makes sourdough bread and gives it to me. I haven't allowed myself time to learn the sourdough trend that's going on Instagram. But it's very nutrient dense. And one thing I want to say is, I get the question, well, what if I can't digest dairy or milk? Hey, that was me. I promise you that was me at one point. And you got to go back and you've got to heal your gut. So for about a whole year, I was eating very like paleo autoimmune style. Not great. But definitely my diet now tastes better. But I did what I had to do to heal my gut and get to this point. I think that's about the time I started taking ion, and it was called something else. I can't remember what it was called at that point. Anyways, but I literally, there was like a whole year, 2015 or 2016, where I was like super, super strict with my diet. But let me touch on this also, preconception wise. A lot of the times I see women come in and I feel like they were where I was, like they're depleted a little bit, or maybe there's no depth. Like I felt like I didn't have any depth. And the 3 biggest issues I see are women are trying to intermittent fast, which it doesn't really work during this cycling period, trying to conceive period. Like you're fasting when you go to sleep. So if you want to call it fasting from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., great, call it fasting. But don't like purposely cut out food for 12 hours. It's just, you're kind of like signaling to your nervous system that you're not safe. So fasting, cutting carbs, and not eating enough are like the biggest issues I see with women. And then that wrecks your thyroid. That wrecks your thyroid and metabolism, like I said, because it signals that you're unsafe and resources need to be reverted somewhere else to promote survival instead of thriving. So therefore, not going to make quality eggs, or eggs, you might not even ovulate if your body's super stressed out. And if you don't ovulate, then you're not going to release progesterone. Progesterone's the Zen hormone, and we all need that. It's so great. Um, so yeah, focusing on a nutrient dense diet, and I hate to call it a diet, but nourishment is key. So yeah, nourishment also includes basically how you sleep, what you put in and on your body, self-care, healing modalities like chiropractic or acupuncture, any kind of body work that you do. It also includes how you train. For about 2 years prior to this conception, I have been training really in tune with my menstrual cycle. And we do that in B community. I was training 4 days a week, and that's about it. If I felt like I was tired or exhausted, I would go for a walk instead, or I would use the sauna instead. I would not push my body to do a workout, to do a training session when I felt depleted. So it takes a lot of tuning in. Just like we say with training inside of our BIRTHFIT prenatal training programs, I think this applies for preconception as well. At no point should you be crushing yourself during a workout. Workouts should leave you feeling good, feeling empowered, feeling confident, feeling nourished, especially during this preconception chapter. And if you're hitting obstacles trying to conceive, we can talk specifics if you want to set up a consult or anything like that. But exercise is not going to be the reason for having fertility obstacles. It's going to be stress. And unfortunately, exercise can be perceived as stress if you're doing it too much or maybe in an ineffective way, I'll say. But so can certain foods, so can certain lifestyle practices, maybe a job, everybody perceives stress differently. So reevaluating what stress is and how showing up in your life is pretty key for preconception. I definitely kept tabs on that for myself. Knowing, if you have a stress meter, like where are you? And then, there's going to be weeks or months or seasons where it might be a little more stressful and you might need more self-care. You might need more chiropractic adjustments. You might need more acupuncture sessions, more sleep, less training, more sauna, that sort of thing. Sauna is a great tool if you are somebody that has been dealing with an autoimmune issue and you want to get back working out again. It's also a great tool. Like I said a second ago, I used it in place of training sessions someday because I felt like it was just less intensity on my body, if that makes sense. And sometimes I would go in the sauna and I would heat up with the sauna. I would turn the sauna on when I got in there. And some days it would be 15 minutes, some days 20, some days 40. And I think I would get to like every temperature and every sauna's temperature is different. So anywhere from 145 to 165. But I would use that some days in place of training. Yeah. Cold plunge. Y'all know I love a good cold plunge, and I've been doing this for, maybe 7 years now. But prior to conception, I definitely monitored the frequency of this. And I did not do any cold plunges in my luteal phase. Did them in my follicular phase. But also at the same time, I checked in with my body. Is this going to serve me or is it going to stress me today? And I think that's a big key. Just ask yourself that with is this training session going to serve me or is it going to stress my systems today? because cold is a bigger stress. It's a huge stress. And I think a lot of women can go overboard with the cold plunges, and like I've done, they become addictive. They give you that high. They're really good. But I sort of lean towards the Eastern medicine mindset, Eastern medicine lens of you want your womb space, you want all of that to be warm. And if you're having issues thermoregulating, if your feet and toes and hands are staying cold and not warming up, that's a big sign. If you're irritable and you can't sleep, that's a big sign that you're probably doing too much. If there's anything disrupting your sleep, if you're waking up in the middle of the night, something's off. It could be blood sugar, could be too much cold plunges, could be stress, could be a whole mix of things. So, these are all things that I took into account. Chiropractic. I've been getting adjusted once a week for, at least the last 10 years. I also have been getting acupuncture at least once a week for a long time. Maybe not as long as 10 years, but chiropractic and acupuncture are part of my mandatory things. They keep me whole, they keep me healthy. I will go to my acupuncturist before I go to a medical doctor. I will definitely consult with my chiropractic colleagues before I go to, the ER or something, unless I've, it's an emergency, I'll go to the ER. But yeah, I hope that gives a glimpse into my wellness philosophy personally. So everything that I did preconception, I've carried over into the first and second trimester. Like I mentioned with nutrition, training, let's hit on that. Training, the days have gone down to about 2, maybe 3 days a week. And that started in the first trimester just because my energy was zapped. And I was like, oh, I'm making a baby for sure. That was the biggest thing I saw was I wanted to sleep all the time. And, I was basically sleeping like 10, 12 hours a day, it felt like. So I would walk, I would do the BIRTHFIT basics, and that was about it for the first trimester. I slowly started integrating more of the prenatal training towards the end of the first trimester. And like I said, on average, I do 2, maybe 3 days a week. We offer 4 days of training plus an active recovery day in our BIRTHFIT prenatal training program. But know that you don't have to do all 4 days. Like you can do like me and do 2 days a week and you're going to feel great. I still walk the other days. I still do the BIRTHFIT basics the other days. But that's what works for me. I have a job, a chiropractic career in which I'm pretty active. I'm on my feet. Doing chiropractic adjustments at least 3 days a week. So I feel like, that's something to keep in mind, knowing what the other days of all that time outside of training looks like, if that makes sense. Where I think Coach Leah, I think she for sure trained like 4 days a week. Every pregnancy is different. Every body is different. Tune into you. Trust me. Like, you've got to go inward and get really clear on what's going on inside of you. The other thing I would say is develop a prayer and meditation practice. Like, I definitely had this prior to conception and sort of wavered in and out. But when that first trimester came along, and as somebody that experienced a loss before, sometimes doubt and fear will creep in. Like, we're only human. So that's where I turn to God. That's where I turn to meditation. That's where I turn to all my prayers and mantras. And that has been so key for me. And yeah, it was hard during the first trimester. It was hard to freaking show up. Second trimester, definitely way better, way different, way more pleasant, less noise in my head. But, I think that's part of the gig, like part of the life lesson is, can you show up to the party with all the noise going on? Can you show up for that meditation with all the noise going on? I learned Vedic meditation back in California, and that's been helpful for me. I definitely used Headspace before. I've used the Expectful app. And I've also found meditations on Spotify that have really vibed with me, and uh, meditations by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Walking meditations with no technology, that has been so helpful for me. So find what works for you. And, I do this. I start my days with my prayers, my meditations, my gratitude journals. And I have to have at least 30 minutes to myself. It may not look the same every day. Like if we're traveling or I'm, somewhere else, I don't light a candle. I don't get all the oils. But if I'm home, like I can get real hippy dippy with it. So I'd encourage you to find some rituals and routines and talk to your God. It's been so key for me to let go and to surrender and to trust in God's greater plan. So yeah, first trimester, second trimester, that's all I know. That's all I'll share. Yes, I'm in the third trimester and I'll share more on the other side, but that's kind of the gist. If you have any questions, definitely email us. We might have the answer somewhere already. It might be in a podcast, an old podcast. I might have written a blog. It might be on a YouTube video somewhere, might be in a program. But, I felt the need to go inward this year. And my words, this is really fascinating. My 2 words for 2023 have been to simplify and surrender. And I wrote those 2 down before even finding out I was pregnant. And that seriously has been the theme for this year. And I think I'm going to write them on the wall in our little Zen room for me to see during birth. I'll share more about the birth experiences and my choices on the other side. At this time, just know you don't have to do anything you don't want to. I have not done one ultrasound. I have not done any testing. And it's truly surrendering to God and God's plan. And it's been wildly scary at times because we're only human. And like I said, I'm a Capricorn and I love to plan and know and get to be like in control So it's been a great lesson of letting go for me. And that's about it. I'm so glad to be back with this BIRTHFIT podcast. And like I said, my goal is to leave you with some juicy episodes before I go out on maternity leave. I've got at least 2 birth stories lined up, 2 phenomenal birth stories. I've got at least 2 midwives that I love lined up, and we'll go from there. So hopefully I can get you 8 episodes before I peace out. Please, like I said before, check out nonprofit.birthfit.com. Donate to us. If you want to sponsor the whole episode, let us know. Share this episode with anybody you know. And I look forward to chatting with y'all in the near future. If you need anything at all, please email us, info@birthfit.com. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram @BirthFit. Please like and review us on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you listen to this. That helps us out so much. And, when we see the reviews, if we read your review, email us and we will send you a free t-shirt. All right, my friends, have a wonderful week. And thank you for supporting BirthFit and all the amazing women and mothers in your life.